Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to talk about that 8.3, the big announcement today, specifically the class changes that are going to be going on, alright? While there is a new patch coming out, which means a new raid, that also means, just like when every raid gets released, Discipline gets another set of nerfs. So let's start talking about what that means, as well as what those new essences are going to be looking like for the spec. So, first off, with those nerfs, it was the top question of the day, so let's dive right into it. Atonement transfers going from 55% to 50% of the damage done. Some aura fiddling, as they usually do with Shattered Pain, to make sure it doesn't scale out of control. And a 1% boost to Mastery. So keep in mind, baseline you used to have 10% Mastery, now you'll have 11% Mastery baseline. It doesn't change how your stats are converting into more Mastery or anything like that. It just, you have a little bit more of the stat baseline. Mainly, I guess they want to be able to not screw over our Shadowmen healing too bad. Something along those lines, I guess. But it's again another slap on the wrist from a successful raid tier in the Eternal Palace. Discipline was quite strong for progression, but the most interesting thing about these changes and these nerfs for Disc is what's not in there. So most significantly, there's not damage nerfs in there, and one of the major benefits of having a Discipline Priest in 8.2 and the Eternal Palace was our damage. We'll see if there's going to be any sort of stealth nerfs to how Crucible of Flame or how the Cyclotronic Blast Trinket interact with Discipline's Schism ability. If they remove that 40% damage buff, they remove that significant damage increase, that would be interesting to see, and I wouldn't be surprised by it, to be honest. But most significantly, they haven't nerfed any of Discipline's damage. Now, it's frustrating, of course, to get these nerfs coming in, and I understand, going through the entire expansion, even before the expansion came out, nerf after nerf after nerf. But at least we're not getting the big jackhammer. But you know who is? Our good friends, the Paladins. Let's take a moment to just to pay respects to Glimmer, as Glimmer's gotten capped. So the only people who could ever overtake us have now been nerfed. Paladins getting their Glimmer of Life nerfed to 8 targets, and I believe that includes the target if they put it on a damage, if they try to damage an enemy with it as well. So, very unfortunate for them, but come on. No surprise onto that one. Paladin was absolutely crushing the healing meters throughout Eternal Palace, and they still continue to do so, so it was pretty expected that they get a nerf. On our side, I think Discipline got off, as usual, pretty easy with these little side nerfs. Most surprisingly, we didn't get any nerf to our damage, which I thought was likely. And I thought it was unlikely, but possible to happen, that some damage reduction nerfs might come in. I think it's a good thing they should have done to start making the balance a little bit closer between the other healers, to start giving more of a reason to bring in those Holy Priests or Resto Druids or Mistweaver Monks. F for the Mistweaver Monks, I feel your pain. But they haven't. So, in this case, yes, we're in that constant situation of getting constantly nerfed as Disc Priests, but we're constantly brought to the raids and constantly sought after. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. You know what's new and what is not the usual, the standard, the go-to? It's the essences. We've got some new essences to check out, and like many of the essences coming out, the minor traits are capturing most of my attention, but we can dig into the majors to start. Let's start off with a bang. The most interesting one of the majors, okay? By far, it's the Formless Void, okay? You replicate the energy in your target's Heart of Azeroth, gaining access to rank 3 of their currently slotted major essence for the next 15 seconds. So you have 15 seconds to use it. The Formless Void will go on cooldown for 30% longer than the base cooldown of the essence you replicated. So the baseline ability, the Formless Void, as a major, does not have a cooldown. Its cooldown is determined by what you steal, right? So if you're going to be stealing a minute-long cooldown, then you're going to be multiplying the minute cooldown by 1.3 to find it's going to be like a lot. Something like that. Yeah, it's going to be like a minute and a half. Automatic math, no problem. I got you guys. So you're going to be able to steal somebody's ability. And the major thing of why you would want to do this is that you can steal multiple different essences that are not yours and cannot be ordinarily used by your role. So you're able to steal tank essences. I don't know why you would, but you could. And most importantly, you can start stealing some DPS essences. Having Essence of the Focusing Iris or Blood of the Enemy, for example, can be quite significant. And I played around with it for M+. It seemed like it was okay, but I think it's really going to need some essences to very much shine, and maybe that's going to require some of my group to use different essences in order to make it worth my while. One of the significant ones, for example, is going to make it so that everybody's essences start doing more damage. That's a DPS only one. I haven't seen anybody running with it yet, but that might be something for us to watch out for. I'll keep an eye on it. I think there's a lot of limited uses for it, a lot of niche uses, but could be pretty fun. The minor effect: each time an ally within 40 yards uses an Azerite essence, gain intellect and haste for 20 seconds. When I was on PTR, it was about 500 intellect or something along those lines. And each ally who used an essence also gains about 1 or 2% haste, something along those lines. When I ran that in M+, I had like 80% uptime or something along those lines. So pretty high uptime, but not loads of intellect. I could see myself running with it in certain situations. Seemed like it was pretty decent onto that end. So pretty cool out of the Formless Void. The minor is definitely going to see a lot more use than the major. The Unwavering Ward. Ooh, this is a good one. The major effect: we're bringing out the bubbles. It's a 3-minute cooldown, and it's a channeled effect. You release 12 protective spheres outward for 4 seconds, granting the first ally to touch it a barrier that soaked, I think it was about 20 to 30k damage for 10 seconds. Each time you send out a sphere, gain an absorb shield for 2% of your max HP. When an ally gains the shield, you and that ally each heal for, I think it was around 5 to 10k on PTR. The numbers will vary a little bit, but the fact remains it's a decent cooldown. It's pretty reminiscent. It's just a different version, really, of Lifebinder's Invocation. Just a different delivery system for that kind of healing, but very similar in essence. It's okay. It's the major effect, not that great, but you know what is really great? The minor effect. Oh my goodness. The Unwavering Ward's minor. Every 10 seconds, allies within 15 yards gain a shield that absorbs around 3 to 4k, and it's stacked up to 12 to 15k, if I'm not mistaken. The numbers on Wowhead can be a little weird, but also those targets that have that ward, that shield on them, take 3% reduced damage. That may not seem like a lot, but that's a lot. Being able to very consistently, every 10 seconds, put out shields to nearby allies, giving them damage reduction from 1 or 2 hits, especially when we're getting into the very last raid where everything is ridiculously bursty. That's so good. It's such a good minor. It's such a good minor essence. This trait's going to be run a lot. It's going to be run quite a bit because of how well we're going to be able to start mitigating damage, reducing the damage onto the group. It's tons of invisible, hidden HPS, but it's very big value, and on cutting edge progression, it will see a ton of use, not just by disc, but by most healers. Spirit of Preservation is the next one that we've got, and it is a different delivery system than Vitality Conduit's major. You channel a beam of energy into a target, and if you're point A and you're channeling into point B, everybody in between starts getting some healing as well. I think it was about 150 to 180k healing, something like that, and it healed everybody else for like 6k a tick, something like that. It was a little bit of extra healing. It maybe was like 10% of people's health if they were inside the beam. The beam itself, you know, was enough to get a quarter of the tank's HP up on a 1-minute cooldown. It was okay, not that great, and it's not something I really foresee us using in raids or in Mythic Plus, but minor effect in particular could see a lot of use in Mythic Plus. Every 5 seconds, gain Saving Vigil, causing your next quick heal, in our case, Shadow Mend, to heal for an additional 900. I think on PTR it was about 1500, stacking up to 5 times. So with that in mind, you're getting almost 10 to 11k healing, extra healing, once you get all those stacks maxed out. And On the other side, each stack of Saving Vigil consumed increases the crit strike chance of your next Shadow Mend by 20% per stack. So if I have a 5 stack, I get a little bit of extra healing onto that Shadow Mend, and then my next Shadow Mend within 6 seconds will be guaranteed to be a crit. This is an awesome essence for Disc Mythic Plus. This is, in many cases, kind of like a saving grace for us in Mythic Plus. There's a lot of long periods between our Shadow Mends. Obviously, if a tank is about to die, you're going to be Shadow Mending them like crazy. But when you're looking at a lot of the usual setups, when you start getting into a pull, the most common occurrences is that you'll run in, they will use their own defensive, or you use the defensive for them. If they're like a warrior, for example, they don't have rage built up or something like that before the pull. You pain set them going into a very deadly pull. You start multi-dotting all of the mobs, and then that's where the tank starts dropping a little bit lower. So being able to have not only an empowered Shadow Mend on the first one, because it's going to be empowered off of the back of your Saving Vigil, and it'll be empowered off the back of your Depth of Shadows, meaning you could almost double the healing and be even doing even more healing than baseline just by having these 2 effects. But then your next heal is guaranteed to be double, because you're going to have every 25 seconds going to be able to have that 5 stack and 2 quick Shadow Mends in succession, resulting in that crit and getting your tank to a lot safer of a position. It's a very big boon. I think this is an excellent minor trait for M+. In raids, I think the minor essences are very crowded. There's a lot of really good essences for raid Disc Priest, so I don't think it's quite going to be able to make the cut, but for M+, I think this is a surefire pick if you want to be able to find a good balance between damage and healing. One of the struggles right now for Discipline and M+, is having to make critical sacrifices of reducing your damage to do more healing for specific types of content. This trait on its own, yes, it will result in losing some more damage instead of running with a more dominant versatility and like Conflict and Strife or Ever Rising Tide for the intellect or mana gain, or even running with the newer trait in the Formless Void for the raw intellect from people using their essences. You do sacrifice that, but it could help prevent you from having to give up Crucible of Flame in your major by taking a minor like this one that's a lot more safe. It's very impactful, and it's prone to quick bursts, and that's something that we really need. That's something that we really should go for, is being able to have those quick bursts of healing. Top the target, they can start kiting, or you're able to more easily stabilize everybody after the fact, and getting into a good habit after taking this trait of 2 quick successive Shadow Mends to top the target and then go back to dealing damage will be incredibly helpful for us. Even if we're going to be on incredibly difficult to heal boss fights, a little bit of extra Shadow Mend healing will go a very long way, as we're finding that most of our essences and most of our value from them is not necessarily from the healing that taking an essence will do, more that by taking the ones that are giving you more intellect, more mana, or mana returns, or leech, that we're going to do a lot more healing as a result of our own casted abilities, rather than just taking seeds and trying to have the seeds do the work for us. Let me know what you guys think, the new essences, and of course the nerfs that have been coming up. We'll see, and I'll keep you guys up to date of any new changes as well. But of course, be sure to check out the stream, and if you'd like to support more videos, be sure to check out the channel and consider subscribing, as that does help out a ton. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. We'll be back with more videos this week for 8.3. I'll see y'all next time.